Angels Care Home Health, serving Hayes and the surrounding areas, is a Medicare-certified home health agency providing quality skilled nursing and restorative therapy services to patients in their homes.
They're polite. I mean, they just take the time for you.
Angels Care is there to help 24 hours a day, and all services are covered 100% by Medicare for patients who are eligible.
I like the Angels for what they've done for me.
Angels Care Home Health. We serve patients.
Eagle Community Television presents Community Connection with your host, Mike Cooper.
Hello and welcome again to Community Connection from Eagle Community Television. Thanks for watching, and thanks as always to the producer of our series and the man behind the camera, Jeff Durall. We're at the Kansas Wetlands Education Center on the southeast side of Cheyenne Bottoms, about 10 miles northeast of Great Bend at the center, with a manager now of 7 years, Curtis Wolf. Let's start with some information about the center itself, Curtis.
Absolutely. The Kansas Wetlands Education Center has been open for about 8 years almost, and we are here as a nice visitor center for visitors coming to visit Cheyenne Bottoms. They can kind of come in, get information about the area, and kind of as a starting point for their little adventure of Cheyenne Bottoms. And then we're also an education center and do a lot of programming with kids, with school groups, adult programming of various types, and just trying to educate as many people as we can about what wetlands are.
We're actually in a little shelter area here overlooking the wetlands itself, right, Curtis?
That's right. This is behind the education center is a what we call the mitigation marsh, which is actually a constructed marsh. It was kind of constructed for the building being here. And it's open for various activities, but we use this area a lot for kind of portraying the educational programs that we do.
We'll come back to that in just a moment, but tell us about the center itself. About 8 years now, you say, and the purpose being education, basically?
For the most part, that's, you know, our real goal, and our mission statement is really all about educating the public about what wetlands are, why they're important, why we need to be a little more conservation minded in our everyday lives. And so that's really what all of the exhibits that we have and all the programs we do are focused around that.
Well, now, how is the association with Sternberg Museum?
Sure. We're owned and operated by Fort Hays State University, and Sternberg is kind of like our big brother museum. We work with their staff quite a bit, and that was really one of the initial draws of putting the education center here and how Fort Hays got involved. President Hammond, Ed Hammond, was kind of, he and Mike Hayden, it was kind of their brainchild of putting this center out here. And they really thought that the mission of educating people about this natural history of this area fell in line with Sternberg's mission as well. And
Former Governor Mike Hayden, as well as being part of a Wildlife and Parks Commission back in the day.
That's exactly right. He was Secretary of Wildlife and Parks at the time, and just the climate was right to tackle this project.
This project has an Ed Hammond look to it, too, I think. I mean, it is beautiful, it is functional, and it is spectacular.
That's
really.
right. You know, and out here, you kind of consider we're really out here, kind of in the middle of nowhere. We're not really that close to interstate. We're about 40 miles off of interstate. We're not incredibly close to a big population base like Wichita, but Cheyenne Bottoms is a huge draw for a lot of people. We get people coming from all over the country that are coming out here.
Now, Curtis, you mentioned the wetlands and the marsh. Tell us about the difference, similarities, differences,
Sure.
and such.
Well, and I will mention Cheyenne Bottoms itself is considered to be the largest marsh on the interior of the United States. And a lot of people don't realize we would have that here in Kansas especially. But a marsh, it has three kind of components to it. There's plant life. The aquatic plants are one component that makes a wetland a wetland. Soil type is another thing. There has to be the right soils that hold water and have some of those characteristics to it. And then there's hydrology. Obviously, you have to have water in order to make a wetland a wetland. Now, we see here, sometimes our wetlands do go dry. We go back to 2012 and 2013, and Cheyenne Bottoms was totally dry, unfortunately.
Well, that third part, the hydrology part, is the most problematic of all of them.
It is, especially in this part of the world, for sure. Yeah.
Well, why is the wetland, the marsh, important?
If nothing else, the thing that Cheyenne Bottoms is really known for is the bird life that stops here. We sit on what's called the North American Central Flyway, and that's basically a giant bird highway that provides the route where birds migrate north and south. And Cheyenne Bottoms provides those birds a stopover place. It's basically a critical place for them to stop, to rest, to fuel up, put on some energy reserves so they can just make it to their next destination. So a lot of these birds, they're spending their breeding seasons up in northern Canada, and some of them even over in Siberia, and they might be heading all the way down to Argentina to spend their winters. So.
Much like the migration of the monarchs, which
Exactly
Pam was telling us about in our previous program.
That's exactly right, and you know, it's not just birds that are stopping here. We have things like monarchs, which they're following a little bit broader path maybe, and not as specific of a location as Cheyenne Bottoms that they're coming to like some of the birds, but it's still an important stopover for them too.
Well now, Curtis, what in the marsh itself, there are so many varieties as we see here in the area of plant life.
That's right. That's exactly right. There's a whole sweep of what we would consider wetland plants, things that thrive in these conditions. Cattails is one that we see a lot of, and actually cattails are a problematic plant out here because they kind of take over areas and they get a little bit thick and outcompete a lot of the other things. But then you have other things like bulrushes and other sedges and that sort of thing that are very important wetland plants.
And we of course see the natural sunflowers and the other native plants of the area as well.
That's exactly right. And all those different components are providing food, providing cover to the wildlife that stops here.
Well now, the birds that stop, there are many varieties, Curtis.
Absolutely. The Cheyenne Bottoms has about 352 species of birds that have been documented here. Now obviously not all those are here at one time, but it's not uncommon to see a lot of different types of birds, especially during those migration times of the year.
Over your 7 years here, Curtis, have you seen changes in the wetlands, the marsh area because of climate change, the drought situations which you referenced?
Sure. There's definitely variability every year. You never know what the conditions are going to be like, and that's going to affect when migrations happen. The thing I've noticed, and I know the scientists are studying the effects on migration of birds, and if that is pushing different birds to different flyways, and if it's altering the timing of their migrations. But overall, it still amazes me every year. We have a phenology, it's called the phenology chart, that based off about 40 years of data of when we see the first day of a particular species coming here. And so they've compiled about 40 years worth of information, and those birds are like right on time every year. Every fall and spring we can look at that chart and look at the calendar and say, well, you know, it's September 1st, we should start seeing marbled godwoods or something like that. And inevitably those things will be here pretty much right on time.
So the bird species are pretty much on a clock themselves.
They really are. They really are. And that's you know, the idea of migration, that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day, and that's something that I think scientists in general, we still don't totally understand the how big of a deal migration is.
Talk about how Cheyenne Bottoms and the wetlands area in the center here attracts so many enthusiasts from not only Kansas, but the United States and the world.
Absolutely. It's almost daily we see someone from out of state that comes through. And these people, they're coming here because they know Cheyenne Bottoms is a major recreational area. It's a place where people come bird watching. So bird watching is an incredible hobby that a lot of people out there that are very much into bird watching. Hunters, there's a big contingent that comes here to hunt, which there's about 13,000 acres that's public access hunting of Cheyenne Bottoms. Photographers, that's been a whole nother component of people that come and use the bottoms. And then just the general tourist. I think we rely on these places these days. These are our nature, and it's the places where people have to come to kind of get into nature, as opposed to just going out to the country like maybe they did years ago.
Well, and maybe some, especially with the education programs, Pam Martin and many of the others, have been doing here.
Right.
This may be the first exposure that some of these young people have
That's exactly
to
right.
nature itself.
That's
Curtis.
right. I tell the story. We get sixth grade groups from Great Bend schools come out in September, and we get the kids into rubber boots and get them into the water here around us looking for macroinvertebrates. And I say the first 10 minutes is total chaos. Screaming, ooh, yuck. And then they start finding these macroinvertebrates, and you can really see the switch go. And like you said, that's for a lot of those kids, probably 95% of those kids, that's the first time they've ever done anything like that. And I think that's a very important part of just them experiencing nature and getting out into it.
Yeah, Pam referred to it as a kind of a natural connectivity, I think.
I think that's
that we
exactly
have as human beings with our natural surroundings.
I'm a firm believer of that, yeah. And if we don't understand and appreciate what's out there, we're not going to, future generations aren't going to care about it either. And so I think that's a very important part of what
That's
we do.
a real good point. I'm glad you brought up, is that for future generations, things like this have to be maintained.
That's exactly right, for sure.
So tell me about, here in our final couple of minutes before we go inside and look around a little bit, Curtis, your journey to the center, your interests and your influences. What brought you here?
Well, I grew up as a kid. I did this type of thing. This is what our family did. We fished and hunted and camped, and that's really how I spent most of my childhood. And so it was kind of natural. I've always enjoyed doing that type of thing. But went to Fort Hays State University and graduated in biology there and got my master's degree in biology, and then moved down to Great Bend and taught biology at Barton Community College for a few years, and then was able to come to the center, and it's been a wonderful opportunity for me.
You had a lot of those great biology instructors as influences at Fort Hays State, didn't you,
There's
Curtis?
no doubt about that. I mean, I there's a lot that I owe those professors for shaping me, and professionally anyway, for sure. So.
Well, we're, as you say, kind of away from things. Where's home now?
I live by Ellenwood, Kansas, and have just really fit in down here. I love this area. I'll stay in this area the rest of my life if I have a choice. So, having a place like Cheyenne Bottoms is a good reason for that.
I was going to say, you can't be coming to work, I don't think, on a day like this or at a place like this.
That's
for
right.
sure. Well, let's go inside and look around a little bit.
Okay.
Our producer, Jeff Durall, will bring the camera inside, and let's look around at some of the features of the Kansas Wetlands Education Center when we return on our Community Connection. Curtis Wolf.
Carbon monoxide is a colorless, odorless gas that can be deadly. If you experience the symptoms of CO poisoning, including headache, dizziness, and nausea, leave the building immediately and call 911. Your best defense is to have your gas appliances serviced regularly. Install a CO detector on every floor in your home and test it frequently. A safety message from Midwest Energy, a customer-owned cooperative, making energy work for you.
Welcome back to Community Connection from Eagle Community Television. Thanks again for watching, and thanks to the producer of our series, Jeff Durall. We're inside now at the Kansas Wetlands Education Center with the director, Curtis Wolf. And as we look around the center, we start in the gift shop. Looks like something for everybody here, Curtis.
That's right. It's our trap for our guests that come in. And now, people really enjoy the gift store, I think, and we do. We try to carry a lot of different product of souvenirs and other more educational items as well that people can take with them, little souvenirs from Cheyenne Bottoms.
Beautiful photography, shirts, of course, T-shirts and such. Even a new product that you brought in from Sharp Seeds, huh?
That's exactly right. We are starting to sell some wildflower mixes of seeds that include milkweed seeds, which are such an important thing with the monarch butterflies, and then honeybees as well, attractants for them and other butterflies. And so we get asked, with our garden out there, we get asked about selling seeds and for what wildflowers people can grow in their gardens. And so we set up a little thing with Sharp Brothers Seeds to offer some nice seed packets.
Let's remember to stop by the garden too before we leave.
Very
Let's
good.
do
That's
that.
a good idea.
And of course, obviously, the literature that's just lining the walls and counters here that's really extensive.
That's
collection.
right. Field guides so people can identify birds and insects and various other wildlife in Kansas. Some other kind of more just Kansas type books of various places in Kansas and some of the exploration type things that people can do. Those are all great resources.
The Wetland Center interim director was Terry Manell, who came
right.
right after the center was constructed, before you came as full-time
That's
manager.
right.
And there's a tie of a shirt with Terry.
Terry did an excellent job getting the center opened, and Terry's dad is an artist, and he had done up a watercolor painting of these two avocets, which are the logo for the Education Center. And we had put them onto a shirt when we first opened. They were kind of our initial shirt for the center. And we've just reprinted these and got some other colors of shirts and added the Cheyenne Bottoms on there on the bottom. And so nice little tribute to Terry's dad, and just it's a great scene, a great picture there to have on.
The avocet, now that's a bird that's not a common knowledge. Is it a migratory bird?
Yeah, it would be a migratory bird, but we do have ones that breed here as well at Cheyenne Bottoms, and so they're here for most of the year. They're here during the spring, summer, and fall, and then they aren't here during the winter time. They head south. But one of my favorite birds, I think it's a great bird to have as our logo as well.
All right, what's the next site we'll visit?
I think we'll go and see our exhibit hall and check some things out of what people can visit here and get some more information about Cheyenne Bottoms.
Angels Care Home Health, serving Hayes and the surrounding areas, is a Medicare certified home health agency providing quality skilled nursing and restorative therapy services to patients in their homes.
They're polite. I mean, they just take the time for you.
Angels Care is there to help 24 hours a day, and all services are covered 100% by Medicare for patients who are eligible.
I like the Angels for what they've done for me.
Angels Care Home Health. We serve patients.
Back at the Kansas Wetlands Education Center with the manager Curtis Wolf. And since it's an education center, we're in the classroom area, Curtis.
That's right. Our classroom is a nice feature that visitors can come, as well as a great place for the programs that we do. But we've also turned it into our kind of live animal exhibit. We take care of about 30 different species of live animals, all things that can be found around here for the most part. There's a couple things that we use for programs that aren't exactly native things, but everything else could be found right here in this area. Everything from turtles and frogs, a few snakes, a couple mammals as well. We have a couple bats and ground squirrel and a grasshopper mouse. All things that we use in our programs as well, and we can take them out and handle a lot of them. And I found out a long time ago, live animals just make your job a lot easier when you're doing programming.
Well, and the kids really are attracted to them, aren't they?
I think kids and adults even, so which is very nice.
And the next stop then is the timeline area.
That's right.
Now, tell us about that timeline.
Yeah, so our timeline basically allows visitors to go from prehistoric Cheyenne Bottoms all the way through today. And it lists a lot of the major events that happened from many thousands of years ago all the way up until today. It highlights some of the management decisions that were made with Cheyenne Bottoms, some of the difficulties that were encountered, and then points out some things like Cheyenne Bottoms being used as a practice bombing range during World War II, and some interesting pieces of history on that.
Now, a couple of things in that main display area there where the timeline is. Also, there is the area that shows the wetlands itself, that big panel there of explanation.
That's right. You know, our panels there and the information that's presented in the exhibit hall really they talk about what wetlands are, why they're important, and what types of animals and plants you can find there, and then tells the Cheyenne Bottoms story. And so it really kind of helps people understand why these are such important features of the Kansas landscape.
And also, Curtis, in the main exhibit area there is that area that's a whole side of one wall there that was exclusively made by Sternberg Museum.
That's right. One of our popular displays is showing the different types of shorebirds that you can see here. It has mounted specimens of a lot of the different shorebirds that stop here. And it was basically an exhibit that Sternberg Museum staff did up for us when we first opened.
A very important part of displaying what shorebirds can actually be seen here at Cheyenne Bottoms.
That's right. And you know, those shorebirds are so hard to identify, and so it gives people a real nice perspective of what you can see out there as those things are migrating through.
And in the main entrance area there, just as you come in, there are some beautiful panel displays. There are a couple of those you might point out for us.
Yeah, we got some nice maps of Cheyenne Bottoms. That lobby area is a great place just to talk to visitors about what they can do out at Cheyenne Bottoms. We have a wide selection of brochures, everything from local Cheyenne Bottoms brochures up to things that people can do in the area. And so we like to visit with people and give visitors more of an experience when they come in, so that it's not just coming to a museum and leaving. You're going to experience things a little bit more here.
And finally, if it isn't misting out, and if we can drag Jeff out into the cool wind once again, we'll go out to the garden and let you talk about that a little bit.
That's
Curtis.
a very important feature as well.
Outside once again at the Kansas Wetlands Education Center for our community connection with manager Curtis Wolf. We're in the Wetland Center garden, I guess, huh?
Yeah, this has been a phenomenal feature for us, and just a nice way of greeting people as they come into the center with a nice garden of native flowers. It's a pollinator garden, so we attract a lot of butterflies and honey, bees of different types. Just a nice way of showing some people what a Kansas wildflower landscape can look like.
And even a few birdhouse gourds too.
That's right.
In the mix.
We've grown birdhouse gourds, and we'll use those for programs this winter and have kids actually make birdhouses out of them. So
now I've seen a lot of these plants around the community. Sedum, milkweed plants, right?
That's right. All sorts of different types of plants. Most of them are native things that are found here. Some of them are cultivar type varieties, but for the most part, just some excellent plants to attract
And this
wildlife.
gives me an opportunity to find out about something that we didn't get a chance to talk to Pam about, and that was the seed bombs, the milkweed seed bombs that she was distributing at the last weekend's event.
That's right. We take and shoot those into our prairie area, and so hopefully some of those seeds will come up and kind of repopulate the prairie with some of these wildflowers.
And that's really the whole idea, is to keep that ecosystem in motion and keep it amenable to the migration of these pollinators.
That's exactly right. Very important, and something just we're trying to shed some light on with most of the public here.
Now, for visitors who might be interested, can you give me the hours of the Wetland Center?
Absolutely.
Curtis?
We are, during our spring, summer, and fall, we're open 7 days a week, Monday through Saturday, 9 to 5, and Sundays 1 to 5. And then during the wintertime, we are closed on Mondays, but we keep the regular hours other than that. So.
And you've got folks who can help with the guided tours, and people can just wander around as well.
That's right. We'll gladly take you out on a van tour of Cheyenne Bottoms, show you some of the sites, and then get online and check out some of the other programs, or onto Eagle's post there, and I know you guys do a good job of keeping track of the events coming up.
And if you want to follow the events online, it's wetlandcenter.fhsu.edu. Find out more information about the Kansas Wetlands Education Center, just about 10 miles northeast of Great Bend, with manager Curtis Wolf, our community connection.
Angels Care Home Health, serving Hayes and the surrounding areas, is a Medicare certified home health agency providing quality skilled nursing and restorative therapy services to patients in their homes.
And the Angel Care nurse comes to see me once a week.
Angels Care is there to help 24 hours a day, and all services are covered 100% by Medicare for patients who are eligible.
Angel Care has helped to stay home.
Angels Care Home Health. We serve patients.